us in Monte Carlo. Jarno Trulli has won the Monaco Grand Prix. Another unfortunate weekend in the season for McLaren and for David Coulthard. David, first of all, tell us about your race. Tell us, because it ended pretty abruptly, didn't it? And we cut short your interview a little bit during the race. You were rather upset by what happened there.
Well, obviously I was disappointed because I love the challenge of driving around Monte Carlo. It's fantastic, and I felt very comfortable with conserving my tyres. I was a little bit frustrated because you could see that Sato's engine was smoking from the parade lap. You know, our team retired Kimi when they knew he had an engine problem because it's just too risky to allow a car to run and blow up on the track. You know, you put oil down, or as you saw there, the track was just completely covered in smoke. You made a point perhaps there that BAR, a young side, a young outfit, very, very keen to win, that if they'd have been rather more pragmatic, they'd have seen that and pulled Sato out earlier. Yeah, I'm sure I'm not making any friends there, which is not at all the intention. It's an absolute professional observation. Our team has retired Kimi because they knew his engine was going to blow up. If the Honda engineers knew their engine was experiencing difficulties, I think it's the only professional thing to do, because the result of leaving the car out there smoking and then eventually blowing up is that a number of cars have had an incident and one guy was upside down, and that's, you know, they have to understand the consequences of running at the front. They've earned their slot there. They're doing a great job, but maybe they could be a bit sharper there. Just going back to the start of the race, I think it was your best qualifying position of the season, and you thought Takuma Sato might have got a bit of a jump start on you. I think we can see it down here now. Yeah, there's no question that it wasn't that he got a jump on me. He went whilst the lights were still red, and I almost jumped the start when he moved. So I'm very, look, you can see there quite clearly he had a lot of momentum before the lights changed. So I don't know whether the jump start system wasn't working properly, or whether they just decided to turn a blind eye. But for me, he should have been penalised for that. He certainly wasn't penalised, was it? And Takuma Sato, of course, went on, and when he blew up, it must be the ultimate driver's nightmare, really, with all that smoke, and you're literally driving and you can't see the hand in front of your face. Well, that's right. I think Mark's got much more experience on the ovals when cars blow up. I think the engineers tell them whether to go high or go low, and at that moment I did think of that movie. You know, I had no idea whether I was supposed to go high or low, so I came to the inside and was just going pretty slowly, and Montoya pulled up alongside me, and then obviously Fizzy just came over the back of the car, and I could see he was upside down, and obviously was pretty concerned for him, and glad to hear he was okay. It was very confusing actually at that point, because they threw a red flag. So normally that would mean a restart, and then they threw a safety car flag. So it was, I think the organisers made a bad call at one moment. In the end, the safety car was absolutely adequate, but when you see a red flag, all the drivers automatically think the race has stopped. Sure. How big an impact was that for you when Giancarlo came flying over the top of you? How scary a moment was that for you individually? No, for me it's not a problem, because the rear wing and the rear crash structure took the brunt of the impact. Seeing another car going upside down, the last time that happened to me was actually with Martin in Melbourne in '96. I saw him disappear rotating upside down, and it's never a nice moment, because you fear for the driver and you don't want to be the cause of an injury for them. There's lots of instances that I'm going to talk to Mark and Tony about a little bit later on, but just give us your view of what occurred in the dark recesses of the tunnel. Two big incidents in there. Yeah, for me it's, and I'm sure there'll be lots of opinions, but for me it's quite clear Ralph should either have allowed Alonso to overtake him before they entered the tunnel or after the tunnel. To do what he did, which is kind of half-hearted in the middle of the tunnel, it's crazy. There's one line through there, and Alonso was forced wide, and he's racing the guy in front. He's got to keep pushing, and he was put in a situation that I think that once he was on the marbles, there was no chance for him to come back. And so for me, Ralph was a little bit naughty there. And the Michael situation, clearly he can set the pace because they're still behind the safety car. Quite clearly he was trying to warm his brakes up. But as I was talking with Mark before we came on, and as you saw with Montoya at the restart with Barrichello, he's got a lot of experience from America and doing these jumps and the rolling starts, and clearly he was just trying to keep as close as he could to Michael. So I'm interested to know what the stewards will do on this one. Right, a word from you about your pal Jenson Button. Didn't win here, but a terrific charge from him. Yeah, I have to say, I was watching the race with my girlfriend and Marigold Newey at the end there, and I was so nervous. I don't think I've ever been so nervous, because he was catching Jarno, and I really thought that with that sort of charge, if he could catch him and have a go straight away, he had a chance to overtake. I know that if he didn't do that straight away, then he was just going to follow him home. But I'm delighted for him. He's driving so well. His confidence is sky high at the moment, and I'm looking forward to seeing him later. Just a final word from you about what it means to win here, to triumph in Monaco. You've had that feeling twice. It's very special for every driver. Yeah, I think that obviously there's only 10 points for this race like any other, but the sensation and the pride that goes with winning here in Monaco continues for many days afterwards, and it's a great event, and you can see here all the glamour that's attached to the event here, so it's a big one to win.
David, it's not the easiest trip to join us up here on the back, and we appreciate you taking the trouble. I know you're enjoying the view, and I'm sure down there you'll be up on the rostrum again very soon. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, David. Okay, we are actually hearing that Juan Pablo Montoya is going to have a word with his stewards to explain what happened in the tunnel. Of course, we'll bring you the result of that if we get it before we leave you. But now, let's join the top three in the press conference.
A truly, if I may use the word, historic occasion. Your first win, Renault's first win as a team at Monte Carlo, and the first win by an Italian here for 22 years. The pressure at the end of the race was outstanding as well.
It's amazing at the moment. I'm so happy for me, for everybody, for all those people which have been supporting me. I've been waiting for so long, and it came the best race in Monaco. It was just fantastic for me. I did a perfect race, been leading from the beginning, and even with Michael on the track, I would have won anyway because I already had a pit. And in the end, I was just managing the race. I was slowing down, taking care of tires and everything, not taking any risk because anyway, you know that in Monaco you cannot overtake.
Talk us through the closing stages of the race there. Jensen got very, very close at the end there.
It was just down to me, honestly. When I wanted, I just responded to the quickest lap time. But then in the end, there was no point to take any risk. I was just handling the race. He closed the gap, but we couldn't anyway get close enough to try to overtake. So, you know, everything was under control.
Well, you seem very calm and composed. What were your thoughts and emotions in those closing laps, and particularly on the slowing down lap as well?
So many things have gone through my mind. You know, I've been waiting for so long. I've been through a lot of bad moments, and the moment I just cannot realize that I won the race and I won in Monaco, the best race probably in the world. So I'm happy. Nothing is going to change for me. I will keep going as I've done for the first part of this championship, and I'm so happy for me, but especially from the Renault team.
Very sincere congratulations. Jensen, what a race from your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, off the line I didn't get a very good start and I lost out to Alonso, and then it was really tough. You know, the traffic was so tough, you know, the back markers, but in the last stint when I was behind Jarno, I know that you can't overtake here, but I had to give everything I possibly could, and maybe push him into a mistake. I know he wasn't pushing 100%, but you've got to try. And you know, I had the possibility of hitting a guardrail, but I want to win so much, so I was pushing as hard as I possibly could.
A brilliant drive. We saw a lot of incidents in this race. One of the major ones, of course, was Michael Schumacher hitting the guardrail in the tunnel. Did you see any of that? No, because I had already had my pit stop, so I was 7 or 8 cars back. But it was very strange. It's slippery in the tunnel anyway. We normally go through there 160 miles an hour, and you have so much downforce. You don't have a problem with the slippery asphalt. But when you're going that slow, it is very, very slippery. Well, both you and Jarno had 2 stops. Did the amount of safety car time affect your strategy?
When Alonso hit the barriers in the tunnel, obviously we pitted immediately, and I think it was the correct thing to do so. And I think if Michael had stayed on circuit, I think we would have been ahead when he had made his stop. So the team did a fantastic strategy, but we couldn't catch this man.
Congratulations. Rubens, a distant 3rd place, but a 3rd place nonetheless. You didn't come in like Michael when the safety car came out. What was the thinking behind that?
Oh, we had a lot of fuel on board yet at that time, but I must be honest. I was very lucky today just to finish the race, because there was a point in the race that I started to lock the wheels, and I felt that something happened on the rear suspension, and so it was on the safety car. When the safety car came in, I had the chance to go slow through just beside the wall, just to see if they could see something, because I was hitting the ground quite badly, and I was locking the wheels like if the car wasn't behaving quite right from left to right. So it was a question just to go round and round just to finish the race. Really, it was no point on pushing, because there was nowhere. Something must have broken on the car.
What did you see of Michael's incident in the tunnel?
I was further behind, so I couldn't see anything. All of a sudden, I saw some pieces flying, and then I saw Michael just slowing down with the suspension. So nothing that I could have seen.
And what about the Sato engine blow up early in the race?
To be very honest with you, I thought that they should have put a flag to him before, because there was already three laps where he was already putting too much smoke, out of the engine or out of the gearbox. Something was happening there. It was obvious, and there was major drama. I caught the car just when I was going into the guardrail. I was 0 per hour, but I would have damaged my car because you could see absolutely nothing.
Well, Jarno, final thoughts from you. You started from the pole and you've won the Monaco Grand Prix. It must be starting to sink in now.
It's fine. It's nice to dominate the weekend. I think it was a faultless weekend. I'm extremely happy because it's the best way to win the race, being always on top during the whole weekend.
Now, earlier this week, Jarno Trulli was doing a spotter training in the mountains above Monte Carlo. He was actually climbing those mountains, one of the fittest drivers of the lot. Jarno Trulli does a few marathons and bike rides as well, and he has scaled the heights here this weekend in Monte Carlo. When you rejoin us, we will have the verdict of Tony Jardine and Mark Blundell. We'll see you shortly. You're back with us in Monte Carlo. Confirmation of the result of the Monaco Grand Prix. Jarno Trulli winning a Grand Prix for the first time in 118 starts. Jenson Button, a superb runner-up. Rubens Barrichello, the only Ferrari driver on the podium today. Montoya, fourth for Williams. Felipe Massa getting 4 points for Sauber. D'Amato, 3 for Toyota. Nick Heidfeld, 2 precious points for Jordan. And Olivier Panis, winner here in 96, 1 point for Toyota. The Drivers' Championship, he did not score today. He remains, though, 12 points ahead of Rubens Barrichello. Another Grand Prix next weekend in Germany, by the way, the European. Jenson Button third, 6 points behind Barrichello, and a point ahead of today's winner, Jarno Trulli, in the Renault. Montoya 23, a couple ahead of Fernando Alonso. We'll have a look at his incident in a moment in the tunnel. Ralf Schumacher, 12 points for Williams. There's rumours he might just be announcing these shifting to Toyota this week. And Takuma Sato started very fast, and then the Honda engine blew. 8 points for the Japanese driver. And in the constructors, 88 to Ferrari. Barrichello scoring for them today, of course. Renault passed the 50 mark. BAR third on 40, 5 points ahead of Williams. Sauber have 7, McLaren 5, Toyota 4, Jordan 2, and Jaguar with just the 1 point. Mark, let's just have a look at one or two of those instances I was speaking about with David Coulthard a few moments ago. He looked very closely at Ralf Schumacher as regards to that incident with Fernando Alonso that put the Spaniard out.
I think Ralf, the issue is, look at this, there's a huge speed differential in there in the tunnel. Ralph's going so slowly, it actually pushes Alonso out wide, and everybody knows you just cannot go around the wide line in the tunnel. It's impossible to zero grip. I think if Ralph's in that situation where he knows that his car in poor condition, he's got poor performance, he really should be monitoring what's going on behind him as much as possible. A bit of frustration there from Alonso, which is very, very understandable. Basically, completely ruined his race. Ralf Schumacher and the Williams team, to some degree, must have known at some point that the car was not going to finish, and consequently he didn't. But, he must be a little bit more aware on the racetrack. We've seen Ralf in many of these problems.
Would you disagree with that in any particular way, Tony?
Well, I think Ralf was struggling so badly. I agree that perhaps he was on the wrong side, but he's not going to go out on the marbles himself. We had a similar incident here in 2002 with Takuma Sato. He was radioed to get out of the way of Fisichella in the tunnel, and he moved out to the left. And he went onto the marbles, and he came out of the tunnel, smashed the car up, and nearly took Fisichella out. Every driver knows not to go outside there on the left. Mark knows it. I don't know why Fernando Alonso took that risk.
But the speed differential was so great, though, Tony, that he had no other option. That's the big issue. The big thing for me is that Ralf Schumacher is an experienced driver. At the end of the day, he should be looking in his mirrors with a car problem, knows that someone's going to come behind. Let's get him out of the way.
Right, let's hear from the man at the centre of it all, Fernando Alonso, and he's with Lou.
Fernando, a very unusual incident. Tell us what happened.
Yeah,
Ralph was in front of me, he moved to the right into the tunnel, and then when we were side by side, he went in the throttle again until he pushed me in the outside to the barrier. It's an unusual movement, as you said.
So you feel this was an accident directly caused by Ralph?
Yes, like most of the accidents that Ralph is involved.
Are you going to be talking to him about this?
No, I don't lose time. I have more things to do.
Very nasty place to have an accident as well. I mean, it's very high speed there.
Yeah, it's very high speed, but maybe Ralph likes that.
Do you get the impression that the other drivers are looking a bit closely at Ralf Schumacher these days?
I think they do. I mean, Ralph has been involved in several accidents over the last few years, and we've always had question marks above those accidents. And, you know, there's got to come a time where someone's got to sit down and say, well, is he the big culprit? And it looks like this, for me, he was.
Well, there have been two big ones this season. Mark Webber in Malaysia was a big one, when Mark overtook him and he went back and he hit Mark, punctured his rear tyre, Mark retired as a consequence. The big one was Bahrain with Sato, where he was blamed for that one against Takuma Sato. Takuma left him some room and bang, he pushed him out of the way. But I was just giving him the benefit of the doubt in there if he had a lot of technical
Let's
problems.
move on and talk about big brother Michael. For the first time this season, we didn't see the winning jumper on the podium. They're going to have to put some more cameras in the tunnel here in Monaco, I think, to discover exactly what went on here. But apparently, Tony, Juan Pablo has apologised a little bit for this.
Yeah, I say that, but I sympathise with Juan Pablo to a degree. Now, Mark has an opinion on this as well, but you know what Michael likes to do. When he's behind the safety car or when he's on the formation lap in the lead, he likes to control the whole pack. He wanted, whatever he was doing with his brakes, he was slowing down, going backwards and forwards. He did it at Monza in 2000. He compressed the field so badly that Jenson Button was the victim at that time of the concertina. He went off before the race even started, because Michael does that sort of thing.
And we're hearing that Michael is with the stewards at the moment. Anything that you would like to add to what happened there, Mark?
I think the bottom line for me is that he's the leader. He dictates what goes on, whether it's in the tunnel or outside of the tunnel. Montoya just getting back to his old US racing style of rolling starts, trying to make the jump. He made it very early on at Barrichello and done a fantastic manoeuvre. He got a little bit caught out.
OK, let's see what Ferrari's Ross Brawn has to say about it all.
Ross, what's your view of how Michael ended this year's Monaco Grand Prix?
Very unfortunate. You never want to go out of a race for that sort of reason. Michael...
What would you say the reason was? Because there's a bit of speculation around. What do you think he was doing?
Well, we'd informed him the safety car was coming in, and as soon as the safety car comes in, the drivers start to warm their brakes up. And he was warming his brakes up, and Juan Pablo hit the back of him. So... sure the stewards will have a look through it carefully and decide what they felt happened. We don't have all the facts yet. So,
as we've said, well, as we've just seen, Michael and Juan Pablo have just gone down to see the stewards. Is your gut feeling that they'll probably say it's a racing incident, or do you think Juan Pablo has yet again been overzealous in this one?
I'm trying to restrain myself at the moment, because obviously to go out of the race like that's very frustrating, because I think we had a chance. Not a strong chance, but we had a chance of winning a race there. It started to come together for us. We had a lot of fuel left in the car, and Michael would have then had a very good sprint until he made his final stop, and I think it might have been possible, depending on how quickly he could have gone. So it was very frustrating to drop out like that.
Nigel Mansell's winning run ended right here, didn't it, as well, 12 years ago. Ross Brawn obviously a little bit upset about that. Did you feel deep down that Michael Schumacher could have gone through, Tony, and perhaps even nicked the race here?
No, I don't personally think so. I think you know, Jarno in particular could have hung on, particularly the pace that he had there. But you know, going back to Mansell had all 6 races pole position, as well as the wins up until now. And it was just 8 laps from the end for poor old Nigel. He had a loose rear wheel, had to come in, and then he chased Senna all the way around to the finish. That was breathtaking, but it was equal to that today with Button's chase of Trulli. It was magnificent.
We have heard the Ferrari view. Let's get the view from BMW Williams now with Patrick Head. There he is, waiting to chat to Ted.
Well, Patrick, Ross says that Michael was just warming his brakes up, as you do, and Juan Pablo hit him. Your view?
Well, I think it's on camera, and I mean, there's always going to be 2 different views of these things, but all Juan has said is that Michael did a burnout, which means accelerating hard, spinning the rear tyres up, and then put the brakes on hard, and one has to wonder whether that's a wise thing to do in a dark tunnel. and Juan moved over to the right, and when Michael put the brakes on, his car moved right. So there was a bump between the two, but there's an inquiry going on. The stewards have asked to see them both, so I'm sure they'll make a good judgment on what the outcome is.
Would you expect a top line, a 6-time world champion, to do something like stamp on the brake pedal in the middle of a dark tunnel?
Well, we had a similar problem at Monza for Jenson Button in the year 2000 when Michael was just in front of Jenson and there was a safety car, and on the straight before the start, Michael accelerated hard and then jammed the brakes on and caused Jenson to have to fly off the track in order to avoid going into the back of him. And I don't know, it strikes me that whatever you can say is that it doesn't seem to be a position where the driver behind can react fast enough, and despite what Michael might think, or Ross particularly might think, Juan is not a dirty driver. He's been used to driving for 2 years in Indy cars on high-speed ovals at 240 miles an hour. He knows what respecting your fellow drivers is, so I don't think that there was any dirty tricks in there.
Okay, we'll see what happens in the stewards, but thanks very much, Patrick.
Indeed, we will, choosing his words very carefully there. Just briefly, Tony, I know it's very, very hard and they're going to be looking at all sorts of things. Would you expect a lot of action from the stewards?
I would hope not. It's certainly not payback for Imola or anything like that, where Juan Pablo felt he was, you know, pushed out. And certainly coming up to Nürburgring next, where Juan Pablo went round the outside of Michael and caused him to spin this time last year, I don't think any of that will come into play. I don't know what you think, Mark.
I just think it's an unfortunate situation. When you get a safety car and you get a rolling start syndrome, yeah, which is basically what we're back to, you're going to get this concertina effect. We see it in other forms of racing.
Let's look towards the end of things now. Montoya, not a dirty driver, as Patrick Head has just told us there, and a lot of courtesy the way he moved over to let Jenson go through. Jenson with a great chance of winning at that stage.
We know that Jock Clear, that's Jenson's engineer at BAR, was down at the Williams garage knocking on the door every 2 minutes saying, like, give us a break, we need to get by, and Montoya did let Jenson go by. Jenson driven a fantastic race again. This is a guy now who's got a real mature head on his shoulders, very fluid, ultra smooth. I don't think there is anybody as smooth as him out on the racetrack. Maybe DC, between those two they're the smoothest there are. But second place at Monte Carlo, not too bad.
All those incidents, we mustn't let them overshadow what has been a terrific performance by Jenson Button. Couldn't catch Trulli or couldn't get by him at the end, but nevertheless a tremendous drive.
I think the fact that he never relented, he never gave up, he was pushing all the while. And yet, as Mark observed, all the time looking smoother, faster, no mistakes. And considering all the things that happened last year, and he was forced to watch, you know, after he'd been hospitalised this time last year, it's tremendous. I think must give him tremendous heart. And as he said, you know, my confidence sky high, there's Flavio Briatore. And of course, this man, Jarno Trulli, he's gone 7-5, 4, 3, 2, third, and now to first place. He lives in Wokingham, not far from this. This is going to be a back page news, sports headline news in the Wokingham Times and the Bracknell Times.
I'm not sure we'll get a copy of that particular publication. We saw Flavio Briatore punching the air, winning boss, first Monaco triumph for the Renault team. Let's have a word with Flav.
Flavio, many congratulations. What a great result. This is the race to win, isn't it?
Yeah. If you put some money in some race to win, it really is Monte Carlo. But it's not only winning, it's pole position, is have one guy in first row and one guy in the second row, dominate the race, and I think it was great.
It's often been said of Jarno that he's a great qualifier, but he can't keep the pace up during a race. I guess he proved us all wrong today.
Yeah, just before yesterday and today he's done a very, very good job. And in the end, you know, we are a little bit nervous, but you know, Jenson was quick. And I think it was good for the spectator to keep everything alive.
How concerned were you at the finish? Because Jenson was pushing hard, wasn't he?
Yeah, you know, you're pushing hard. Theoretically, it's nice for the, it's nice for the spectator. But you know, you need to go close. You need to overtake. It's not so simple.
Just a word on Fernando's incident.
I don't know, honestly. I want to talk with Fernando because really I don't understand what happened. I don't know if you guys understand. I don't understand.
Thanks.
Not sure, quite sure. I got too much of that, to be quite honest. Sum up the Monaco Grand Prix in a couple of words.
It's injected new life into the Formula One season. It's absolutely fabulous, and for the young drivers to come to the front like that, great.
Nigel Mansell's record lives on. That's the end, though, of Michael Schumacher's unbeaten run. An absolutely marvellous drive through the streets of Monte Carlo from Jenson Button. We salute, though, the Italian Jarno Trulli, winner of Monaco 2004. Bye-bye.